Welcome to the first episode of Imperium Orbis. This is the first episode of this brand new series, where we will look at a scenario where the old empire wins World War III. The first two episodes will be looking at the World War III scenario, and the following episodes will look at the following events after. Let's begin. First, we will have to see how the war starts differently. In our timeline, Russia detected the false nuclear strike, and this gave them an advantage, as they mobilized their military first. This allowed them to make crushing victories in the start of the war, invading into the old empire, which the old empire would never recover from. In this timeline, a different start begins. The Farmers' Union detects Russian nukes heading towards their territory, which turn out to be a false alarm. This causes a nuclear exchange to take place between Russia and the Farmers' Union, with the Square Team mobilizing first. Due to this, not only are the Square Team prepared first, but much less damage has been done to the old empire, as Russia was primarily focused on the Farmers' Union. This gives the old empire a massive advantage. The war begins in Ukraine, with the old empire striking hard into Russian defenses. This allows the old empire to make a strong push deep into Russian territory. On other fronts, we see similar success for the Square Team. Norway kicks Russia out of Sweden and moves down Denmark into Germany, one of Russia's puppet states. In Iberia, Galicia pushes Morocco out fully and forces a stalemate in the Gibraltar Gap. In Central Asia, Caspian forces make a large push down, being reinforced by their Central Asian allies. This is about the only place where the Cross Team is seeing success. In North America, Carolina launches the fifth largest land invasion in history against Texas, pushing them back and immediately threatening the capital. In Russia, the Cross Team is able to halt the old empire's advance, and due to their logistical superiority and the winter climate, push them back. This causes the old empire to have to build up defenses. This begins the Great Ukrainian Stalemate, that would last until 1993. In Germany, Norway continues to see success. They follow along the Dutch border and enter into the outskirts of Berlin. Eventually, the First Battle of Berlin takes place. The battle ends in no victory for either side. However, due to Norway moving more troops over to fight the battle, Russia manages to retake land in West Germany. In America, we see an interesting event happen. The terrorist organization begins an invasion of Texas. This causes a complete collapse of the Texan front lines. During all of these events, the old empire had seen great success in pushing back Caspia. They move around the north of the Caspian Sea, and eventually manage to encircle the full thing, just like our timeline. However, unlike our timeline, they manage to successfully hold onto this land. When the Cross Team attempts a counter-offensive that cut the old Imperium forces in half, they manage to break through the flanks of the Russian lines, and encircle 500,000 Russian soldiers. This defeat is so bad for Russia that they end up being pushed back on the whole front line. This makes Russia very desperate, and they begin to think of a plan to weaken the old empire on this specific front line. Meanwhile in Iberia, Morocco manages to make a landing, and along with Andalusia, they make a great push, heavily threatening Galicia. This causes Norway to send over a large portion of troops to help defend their ally. Because of this, Russia launches an offensive. The Russian Army Group West smashes through the Norwegian lines, pushing them all the way back to Denmark. They attempt to encircle Norwegian troops in Germany, however due to miscommunication this fails. Eventually, the Battle of Jutland is fought as Russia pushes Norway up the peninsula. However, seeing these defeats from Norway, Finland joins the war, in solidarity against Russia. They quickly move down through the mostly undefended border. This stops in its tracks the Russian offensive, and they are forced to dig in Denmark. The Finnish offensive is quickly stopped after this. Meanwhile in America, Texas finally falls, after a complete collapse due to substantial territorial loss. Meanwhile, in Central Asia, Russia has finally set their plan into effect. 15 nuclear missiles are launched toward the old empire through Chinese airspace. Wow, well done Russia, I'm sure that will not have any consequences. Wait, what do you mean they were intercepted by Tibetan fighters? Oh dear. So, just like that, China enters the war. And unlike our World War III, China is only at war with the Cross Team here. Immediately after this, China, with full force, launches a large portion of their nuclear supply straight into Russia. This not only causes extreme damage to Russian infrastructure and military bases, but also effectively disarms the Russian nuclear capabilities in the area, making Russia unable to retaliate against China. After this, the Circle Alliance begins their offensive. Major pushes are made all across the front line. The old empire decides quickly to blitz across Russia to cut off Tibet from moving freely through Central Asia, as to not let them gain too much land. Meanwhile, Russia manages to push back Finland in the north, and finally kick Norway out of Jutland, as they are being weakened by sending more and more troops to Galicia. However, this is helping out Galicia a lot, as they push back Morocco and enter into Andalusia. But now, it is summer 1993, and the old empire has just begun the Great Ukrainian Offensive. In Ukraine, and the Farmers' Union, which had been able to hold out in this timeline, they plan to launch a two-pronged attack to take the Russian capital. With just over 2.5 million men on each side, the attack begins. Bombers quickly carry out destructive runs along the Russian defenses, and thousands of tanks move in what is the largest invasion of this timeline's history. The two spearheads quickly form and make great progress. In the south, we see 500,000 men on each side move in to encircle Russian troops in the south to help weaken the defenses. Over 600,000 Russian troops are captured, but thanks to a desperate counter-offensive, around half of these are saved. Meanwhile, the main offensives continue, the spearhead from Ukraine doing the best. The reason for this is that for the spearhead from the Farmers' Union to continue, they have to take the city of Kiev. The Russians defend the city fiercely, and this halts the Farmers' Union offensive. Despite this, the old Imperium offensive continues, with just over 1 million men. The Russians, seeing that this offensive is moving too fast and with too much strength to build defenses against, launch a desperate counter-offensive. Over 1 million Russian troops, mostly consisting of conscripts, smash into the flanks of the spearhead, threatening encirclement. This causes troops to be diverted from the end of the spearhead to defend the new Russian attack. To add on to this, Russia also brings Libya and Ethiopia into the war as a large distraction. This causes a retreat of the old empire. Meanwhile, the Farmers' Union, while seeing success in the Battle of Kiev, decides to leave too, as they are losing too many men. The newly entering nations invade into the old empire. Libya makes an offensive into Egypt, which goes terribly, and the old empire easily pushes this back, but in the south, the Ethiopians see success, due to their militarily intelligent dictator. He is able to take all of Somaliland, and pushes up Eritrea. Due to this, the Russians launch a large offensive into the Farmers' Union. This goes very well, as square team troops are being reorganized. However, just as it seems the Farmers' Union is about to capitulate, Rome joins the war. That is it for the first episode of Imperium Orbis. In the next episode, we will see how the war continues on and ends. After that, we will look at the world after. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Part 2 will be coming out the Monday after next.